So I'm with Karen Shackleton. We're talking about the problems down at the Wharfe and the sewage, raw sewage going into the water. So what happens is water comes off the moor and off people's houses and out of our loos, and it all ends up in the same culverts, doesn't it? And that all of that goes to Yorkshire Water. It doesn't get separated. It's completely one inflow. And then when it's got to a certain level, then Yorkshire Water is allowed to put it straight in the river because the plant can't cope, basically.
Yeah.
There isn't enough space for it to move quickly through the plant into the storm tanks. There's two reasons why they can discharge. One is there's too much coming in too fast. And secondly, when their storm tanks are full, they can discharge for either of those reasons. And that's because there was a limit set 17 years ago by the Environment Agency. And we understand that was part of the European directive. And it was for when there were real big storm conditions. It's a storm overflow directive. I mean, it's pretty clear what it means. That in those situations, to stop people's backfill and flooding into houses, it would all go into the river. And that is based on our view. That would happen a few times a year in heavy rain when there is a lot of water going down the wharf anyway, so it would just rush it all through and out to sea reasonably quickly. But that isn't what's happening, is it, Karen?
No, this is happening under low and moderate rainfall conditions. So pretty much every time it rains, as opposed to the storm conditions and the snow melt conditions, the permits were originally designed to protect the sewage treatment plants from backing up sewage into people's homes. So what we're wanting to do is to get the permit level back up to the level it should be at, which would only allow for these certain conditions to happen under.
Yeah, so we really want the limit raised to the point at which it's only breached a couple of times a year when it's storming and when the river's high, not when people are picnicking on the river and it's summer.
No.
And of course, that's a mixture of two things, isn't it? It's the amount of population growth.
Yeah.
Well, and three things, I guess. Adding and plant being shut. So all the adding stuff coming this way. So adding and plant being shut, our population growth and climate change, in that the ground's drier, so there's more runoff. And I guess the last one is also how our population is growing in terms of how we're building houses. So lots and lots of sort of hardcore, or what do they call that?
Tarmac,
all that stuff that means it isn't soaking into the ground.
No.
So there's a couple of things we want to do. We want the limit changed, don't we? So that the water is having to be managed. Now, of course, that's going to have some costs because basically our sewage plant isn't fit for that volume of inflow, is it?
I would have said that is the root cause of the problem so far, is that the permit is set so low that actually Yorkshire Water are not doing anything illegal because the permit is that low that it allows the sewage to be discharged at very little rainfall.
But also, of course, if the permit's set low and Yorkshire Water can discharge it into the river, there is no reason for them to go back to their shareholders to ask for funding to support the sewage works. Neither is there any recourse for them to go for any national grants to improve our sewage works, because apparently we've got good water quality and the amount that they're discharging raw sewage into the river is completely fine, apparently acceptable, and apparently the public should know that the water quality isn't something you can swim in, and they should know that it's entirely acceptable for sewage to go straight in the river. But we found that's a bit of a shocker. Nobody knew that, and people are really, really concerned about it. So we do need an investment in the plant, no question about it. And Yorkshire Water's done a bit about that. They put a bit of money in just to try and help move the water quickly from the inflow into their storm tanks with some things called screws and
screws.
And they've also tried to do something to stop solids going from the plant onto the riverbank by putting in more screens.
Yes, I don't know why those screens aren't standard across the whole country, to be honest. They should have been put in ages ago.
And of course, much as they're being really lovely about it now, the reality was we had to go mad on Twitter, didn't we? And on Facebook,
we had to
really get their attention about this.
Yeah, I mean, until it went on BBC Look North and ITV Calendar, they were doing the bare minimum, and really we needed to get this out there and let the public know and kick up a fuss to get this action taken.
So if any of you go past the sewage works tool, you'll have a look and you'll see that it's a Victorian build set up. It's not fit for this sort of population and the way we live our lives now, nor for the changes in climate. So that's a really big deal for us. And at the moment, we're having a bit of an argument with the Environment Agency about whether they could lift the limits, and with Yorkshire Water about whether they should be investing in this anyway. So that's the point of the campaign that we've got at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, of course, are things we can do in the town. So we can stop flushing the wrong things down the loo.
Yes, we should be probably only flushing down pee, poo and paper, and that's all that should be going down the toilets. Because obviously while this is happening, everything else is getting flushed into our rivers, into our oceans and seas, for all the marine wildlife to suffocate on, quite frankly.
So we can do our bit just by what we stick down the loo, but we can also do something in Ilkley about our planning permissions and runoffs. And actually Yorkshire Water are really keen to do some schemes with schools locally, maybe the big care homes, about how they might take water that's coming off their roofs, put them into containers, grow things in gardens, so that there isn't so much what they call runoff onto the drains. So that's our campaign at the moment. Do something about the limits, get some investment in the plant, see what we can do as a town. Hope you can help us. Thanks very much, Karen.
Thank you.